Each year, tens of thousands of animals are displaced due to domestic violence situations within their homes, leaving them to face possible euthanasia. Organisations and programs dedicated to helping victims of domestic violence are increasing, but there are forgotten victims within this social issue, victims who are voiceless and in most cases defenceless against violence in the family home. These victims are the furry family members, the pets who have been caught up in the violence of a DV situation, who are unable to ask for assistance or to alert anyone to their harm. Peter Miles of the Animal Welfare League Queensland works with dogs who have been surrendered due to domestic violence and sees firsthand the devastating effect domestic violence has on pets.
Not only does it have long-term behavioural effects on them as well, but it also has the physical short-term effects too. Typically with animals that are like that and are caught in the middle of the crossfires of a domestic violence relationship, we see them coming through with multiple amounts of scarring all over their body. They don't want to eat, they drink more water than what they should, they're incredibly shut down in the rehoming centre environment and in the pound here as well, and it's very difficult for us to be able to work with them and get their trust gained as well.
One of the dogs currently in the care of AWLQ is Rocket, a young border collie who has spent most of his life living in a violent home. Peter has been working with Rocket for some time to get him to the stage now where he can again learn to trust humans.
Well, Rocket is incredibly shut down. He is incredibly shy to touch when you put your hand out. He has no trust of humans whatsoever. And he does have some visible scars consistent with an animal placed in a domestic violence house.
Peter blames the lack of resources available for people's pets when fleeing a domestic violence situation for the high number of animals who are surrendered to the shelter.
We don't provide boarding services for people, and other boarding services for victims of domestic violence are incredibly expensive. So when you're going through that traumatizing time and you're needing to flee and flee quickly, there is no options. It's pretty much surrender, leave the animal out, or risk it, take it with you, but most of them don't have that ability to because they leave at incredibly short notice as well.
Many non-for-profit animal rescue groups in the Brisbane area are starting to realise the serious need for more programs aimed at pets in these situations. Kathy from Above and Beyond Dog Training decided to step up and create a group dedicated to assisting these animals. Guardians of Animals in Crisis are a charity based in Brisbane who go out into the community and take in animals from families who are fleeing violence. They offer short-term rehabilitative care to dogs who have been displaced due to domestic violence and who have both behavioural and physical issues due to this.
Our main aim is to remove the stress off these dogs, because a lot of times when these dogs come in-house or are left in the house situation where domestic violence has taken place, they get abused themselves. Most domestic violence cases start with the dogs and work their way up to the humans.
Kathy's group often have to work quickly to get the animals out of dangerous situations so their families can reach safety.
And a lot of these families won't leave the situation because of their animals. They've got nowhere to go, so they stay, and this is where the pattern just keeps going over and over again. So if we can get guardians of animals in crisis out there, we can help a lot more of these women flee the situation. It's not fair to these women to stay. They're doing what they have to do, and that is look after their pet. I admire these women immensely for staying put and looking after their animal, but they really have to come first. We will step in and we will take their animal for them.
Kathy uses her training experience to work with the difficult cases, but she relies entirely on volunteer foster carers to help the other animals in care.
If there's any aggression issues, they come here for me to deal with. If they're fearful or just happy-go-lucky dogs, they'll go into care with a foster carer. That foster carer treats them as their own, walks them, feeds them, vets them if required, and we pay for the vet bills on the dogs. But there's definitely, our name, Guardians of Animals in Crisis, has to get out there and just say, hey, we are here to help.
Animals subject to emotional abuse from domestic violence can develop psychological disorders such as anxiety, PTSD, and OCD. Many shelter environments can increase these psychological issues as they are crowded, loud, and often lonely environments for pets. Both cats and dogs can be affected by these psychological traumas, which are almost always brought on by abuse from violent homes. Kerry Cairns has seen many of these cases in her 25 years in the veterinary field.
Animals that display psychological issues from domestic violence situations often display aggression issues. That makes it much harder for them to be rehabilitated and rehomed.
The psychological issues that cause aggression in animals come from being subject to horrific violence, and Kerry has seen this many times.
Little puppy thrown from a car with quite a number of injuries, cigarette burns to puppies, broken bones. There were quite a lot of physical injuries there that we would see.
Happy Tales Animal Rescue is a non-for-profit group who work with animals in need across Queensland. Until recently, they have not worked with domestic violence victims, but a recent increase in requests for help has made them reconsider what they can do to assist these victims.
So we get contacted by many domestic violence victims in really hard situations, and a lot of them are forced to live in their cars with their families and their pets. And the reason for this is that many refuges that people go to seek safety when they're experiencing domestic violence actually don't allow them to bring their pets along with them.
With foster home shortages across the state, many non-for-profit groups are pursuing purpose-built facilities such as catteries to house pets victim to domestic violence.
After recently securing a $5,000 grant from Sun Super, Happy Tales are going to construct a cattery to house urgent in-need animals when their families are fleeing violence.
Yeah, so we're really excited to receive the grant. We're going to put that money towards a purpose-built facility for pets of victims of domestic violence. We're really excited because it's the first one of its kind in the state, and it'll be a place for these pets to go so their families can go and seek safety.
Domestic Violence Connect is the only other organisation that runs a program dedicated to pets of domestic violence. Hannah Negri has been a social worker with the program for 2 years now, helping to accommodate pets in need and support their families.
We take animals out of domestic violence situations and we take them into our care, and we look after them for the people who have had to remove themselves from the violent situations that they have been faced with within their families.
A major issue the program is facing is the high volume of requests for help compared to the space available within the program. Hannah says that government funding is needed in order to offer this help to more people who are in desperate need.
So through our call centre program, we probably get around 24 calls a day with the pets in need. We can only help about 2, maybe 3 of those a day, which is quite unfortunate because we aren't able to help these people that are in such a stressful situation. It leaves them unsure of where their animals will go, which is the last thing people need. We need government funding so that we can support all of these extra people that need our help.
Everyone involved in this important work agrees that there is a lack of recognition as pets as victims of domestic violence as well.
They don't realise how much the dogs suffer. I mean, humans suffer enormously. There's no different to the dog. They suffer enormously as well. They're listening to the fights. They're listening to the things being thrown around them, and they cringe. That's why they're so scared of anything that is going on in the household, in a normal household, even though it's not threatening to them.
Especially in terms of the mental abuse pets can suffer.
And it's time that we got the awareness out there and help these dogs, cats, animals to have a better life, because it's not fair that they go through all this.
This has been Mykeala Campanini for UQ News.